Hi, I'm Gary Lee Joyner, and this is Atomic Guitar Session 3. I want to talk about a couple of ideas that have occurred to me before we proceed to Session 4. One is this whole concept of simplicity and being simple. I want to juxtapose it with complex and the easy-hard paradigm. And as an example, if the instructions were to butter a piece of toast, take a bite, and swallow, that would be simple and it would be easy. If the instructions were make a piece of caraway toast, butter it very carefully to the edges, step back, turn around clockwise 4 times, step forward, take a bite, chew 23 times, swallow, walk across the room, sit down on a chair, stand up, holding the chair, walking to the other room with the chair held against you, sit down, stand up again, leaving the chair in that room, walk back to the first room, back to the counter, step backwards, crouch down, touch your nose and then rub your stomach, stand up, step forward, and take another bite. That would be easy, but complex. If I had instructions that were pick up this 2.5-ton rock and move it 1 inch and set it down, that would be simple, but it would be very hard. My concern with the idea of simpleness is that if one dismisses a simple idea for being too simple, it's not that much different than somebody who looks at the idea and appreciates its simplicity and smiles at it and says that's really nice, but doesn't get involved with the activity. Neither approach puts you on the path. The point is to get involved with the activity and not think about its quality, but just pursue it. That puts you on the path. I didn't go into any patterns. I gave you a couple of ideas of patterns in session 2, but I didn't provide any specific patterns. I'm torn about that whole idea. In workshops and classes and private sessions, I do give handouts with patterns demonstrating the concept at hand. They're patterns that are cool. I enjoy them and have fun with them, and people are intrigued by them. But I'm concerned because they distract us from the focus of the whole thing, which is to discover your own creativity and get in touch with yourself. And that is done by creating your own patterns and developing those. And knowing that you'll come up with a set at this time, this instance, and another time you'll come back and you'll bring fresh awareness in yourself, so you'll come up with more ideas. So getting stuck on somebody else's ideas or on ones that you've already had can both be a danger. But it's really fun to create your own patterns and make them as complex as you need them to be, and then using those and playing with those, and then also knowing that they aren't the end. You'll be creating more as you go, which is why we always return to these ideas. Nonetheless, I do want to provide some sheet music with these video sessions, and as I mentioned in the comments section of the YouTube page for session 2, I've not had satisfactory results so far in finding a place where I can post sheet music that can be downloaded and clearly printed. So any ideas that anybody has, and I'm sure there are plenty of ways to do that, but I haven't discovered the one that works for me yet. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the two-note scale that I mentioned in session 2. It was the open string, and then we played the 6th fret, and then the octave repeated the open string notes. So it was 2 notes in the scale. I picked the 6th fret very specifically and very purposefully, and I forgot to tell you why. That's a very important note in the scale. It's called a tritone, an augmented 4th or a diminished 5th, all meaning the same thing, just different vocabularies. And that interval really directs how you hear a whole lot of music. And if you're playing any chords from folk music to jazz to rock to whatever right now, you're using the tritone and its tendencies all the time. So that's why I picked that note. It's also interesting because it divides the chromatic scale exactly in half. So the diminished scale also is very interesting because of implications that we'll be going into soon, a few sessions down the line. It's a key element. Pat Martino in his teaching even calls it the parental chord, the diminished chord. And various teachers have exemplified this in various ways, and I'm going to be another one. So the diminished scale is going to have lasting import also. We were improvising already, improvising being simply playing music that's not written down, and it's a scary word that comes with a lot of baggage. Not sure how much difference there is between improvising and noodling, except noodling seems to have a bad connotation and improvising has a good connotation. The important part is how present you are with your attention and your mind while you're doing it. Focused noodling is hugely useful. And along with that, I want to mention mistakes, which are your best friend in the world. We tend to shy away and run from a mistake when we see one. Francis Bacon, one of the great 20th century painters, paraphrasing him, he said something like, every one of his successful paintings was the result of a mistake. And he didn't say that with irony. He was dead serious about that. So love your mistakes, and instead of turning away from them, listen and look and see what they offer you. They'll almost always take you to an interesting and unsuspected place. And finally, theory. Really, all of this that we're talking about is theory. When we're talking vocabularies, we could also be saying music theory and guitar theory. I've been with teachers countless times who sit around and debate amongst themselves whether they should teach theory, how they should teach theory. And what I find, I notice that nobody ever asks themselves or each other, what are we talking about? What do we mean by theory? And when I say that, I get rather blank looks like, what do you mean, what's theory? But in fact, what is theory? In the music tradition, in the Western music tradition, it's essentially describing how somebody did something and then saying this is how you should do it, when the person who did it in the first place was exploring and following their mistakes, most likely. But in fact, that whole Western theory tradition is only one theory tradition. There are many others, from world musics to electronic theory to, if theory is just how you're approaching music, there are as many theories as there are ways to approach music, and that just in this era is more profound than ever. When teachers talk about theory, I'm not even sure and can't get them to really be specific about, well, you're talking about understanding chords or reading dots on a page. What do you mean by theory? All of those things are good and useful, But it's, once again, asking questions and thinking about possible answers, not looking for the answer, is crucial. And in fact, the whole idea of theory, I would suggest, gets confused with the idea of privilege, which is usually construed to mean I get to do something somebody else doesn't, but that's only the surface element of privilege. At a deeper level, privilege is about thinking one's own values and one's own activities and methods are the norm, and everybody else should or wants to achieve that same norm, when in fact there are many norms for many people as there are many theories. So that's it. We'll be coming back soon with session 4, where we're going to finish up some ideas. Well, we'll never finish them up, but just come to a temporary conclusion with some ideas that we began in session 2 and take it to some places that I think you'll find to be very interesting, and as I promised, show how to understand some things as they lay on the fingerboard that sometimes seem kind of thorny to follow. I'll see you then. Thanks. Bye.